Hello, Dr. Joe here. So, here is the thing, folks. Fasting will not kill you. Let me repeat that. Fasting will not kill you. So, why am I saying that? Well, this video is a result of a study that came out about 4 weeks ago. And in that study, in fact, that study generated quite some screaming headlines that the media ran with, and that was that fasting increased your risk of dying by 91%. Okay, 91%. That's quite scary, and obviously quite a number of you folks got really worried. You got in touch with me asking for my opinion on the subject, on the study, and I did reply you guys privately, but I thought I should do a video on the subject, on this very study, to critique the study, talk about the good things regarding the study, the bad things, the flaws of the study. And in the process of doing that, I have come up with what I'll call, recommendations for safer fasting. They are rebounds from the study, if you like, okay? And these three recommendations that I've come up with are worth your while, because it means you can fast in a safer way without having to lose sleep over it. So we're going to talk about the good things regarding the study. Always a good idea to start off with good stuff. The first good thing about the study is that it was a long-term study that ran from between 2003 to 2008. So, it was fairly long-term. And they got data from over 20,000 folks. So that means it was a large cohort. And they split the study participants up into different eating windows. And that's a good thing. So what are these eating windows? The first group were those who compressed their eating window to less than 8 hours. The second group were those who compressed their eating window to between 8 hours to less than 10 hours. That's group 2. Group 3 were those who ate between 10 hours to less than 12 hours. And group 4 were those who spread their eating hours to between 12 to 16 hours. And group 5 were those who spread their eating pattern over 16 hours a day. So obviously, some people like to eat throughout the day, eating for more than 16 hours. And they followed up the groups for 8 years, so that's good. So what were they actually looking for? What were the outcome measures that the study authors were interested in? Well, they were looking for cardiovascular mortalities, that is deaths from cardiovascular events, also deaths from cancer, and all-cause mortality, so deaths from all causes. So the other thing that was good about the study is that it is the very first study that has looked at the long-term effects of time-restricted eating. Because, we do know about the short-term effects of fasting and even the medium-term effects of fasting. But no one has actually looked at the long-term effects of fasting. So this is the first study that looked at the long-term effects of time-restricted eating. So that's a very good thing. Okay, we've got to praise the study authors for doing that. So what did they find? Let's look at what they found. Well, the first finding, and this is the one that the press ran with, and it is that there was a 91% increase in mortality if your eating window was less than 8 hours. Okay, so the press liked this, they ran with it. And they also found that the deaths occurred in those with pre-existing cardiovascular disease and cancer. The other finding, which was largely ignored, is that there was a 66% increase in cardiovascular death in those whose eating window was between 8 hours to less than 10 hours. That was another finding that, they didn't report. So that's all the good stuff about the study, the findings, and everything that it did well. So let's talk about the flaws of the study, because let's face it, the study was far from perfect. Okay, so what were the flaws? The first thing to note is that in actual fact, this study was just a poster presentation. It's not been published yet. Okay, despite the media attention it got, it's not been published yet. Meaning it's not be peer reviewed, and it may not get published if it doesn't stand up to scrutiny. We have to wait and see about that. But it was a poster presentation. The other thing was that the study was based on food recall. meaning memory. Okay, they are relying on memory of the study participants, and not just that, they relied on 2 food records. Okay, 2 food records. That's just relying on memory on 2 occasions for a period of 8 years. I mean, yeah, that's probably not so good. It's a big flaw, I have to say. Because when you do that, when you rely on memory, it gives a big window for recall bias, and recall bias can affect the strength of a study. It can increase it or decrease it, and it's not a good thing when a study just relies on recall, because our memory is not so good. We all know that. Now, the point here is that relying on food recall, okay, that's one thing. However, it is unlikely that the eating window supplied by the study participants was representative of how they ate over the 8-year period, if that makes sense. So it's something that it's a big problem for this very study. It's a big flaw, because our eating patterns do change. People read blogs, people watch YouTube videos, and their eating patterns do change over time. You may decide that you're going to do alternate day fasting, say for the next 7 months. You may decide that you're going to skip breakfast for the next 7 months. That's not to say you're going to be doing that in 2 years' time. That's not to say you're going to be doing that in 4 years' time. That's not to say you're going to do that in 6 years' time, let alone 8 years' time. So eating patterns do change. And relying on the eating window that was supplied by the study participants and assuming that they did that for 8 years is one big flaw of this very study. Okay. So next, a flaw is that it's difficult to adjust for all confounding variables. And what confounding variables am I referring to? Here we go. Adjusting for age, adjusting for sex, adjusting for race. Those are easy to adjust for. Can you then adjust for smoking, adjust for drinking habits, adjust for diet quality, adjust for physical activity, adjust for total energy intake, adjust for food quality, adjust for BMI, adjust for education? Lots and lots of confounders to adjust for, and you just cannot really adjust for all of those. So that's bound to affect the outcome of the study. The other thing I noticed in the study too is that those in the time restricted eating group had higher BMIs, and they also had more smokers too. And obviously that's going to affect the outcome of the study, the results. And because it will skew the results, because we are talking about unfair comparison between the groups. Make sense? So that's one of the flaws of the study. So here's the thing. I don't want us to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Okay, we shouldn't do that. The study is the study. It's got its flaws, but it's got its good points as well. And I think we can draw some conclusions for ourselves to make fasting safer. And that's what I've done here. I've come up with three recommendations that I think you'll find really useful to make fasting safer for you. The first one is that we should endeavor to not fast for more than 24 hours. So a maximum of 24-hour fast. You may decide, I'm not saying you should fast for 24 hours all the time. I'm just saying that you may decide to fast for 16 hours. That's fine. 18 hours, that's fine. 20 hours, that's fine. 22 hours, that's okay. But your fasting should not extend beyond 24 hours. That is the point I'm making. A maximum of 24-hour fast. Why do I suggest that? Well, it's because, when you fast for longer, that is likely to elicit the release of stress hormones. Because we have to remember that fasting is a stressful event for the body. Okay, fasting is a stressful event for the body, and the longer you fast, the higher the likelihood that you're going to elicit the release of these stress hormones. And I'm referring to hormones like cortisol, adrenaline, okay, and noradrenaline. Those are stress hormones. We need them in our lives, but we don't want them too high. So if you fast for longer, you're more likely to trigger the release of those stress hormones. Not a good thing. So fast for a maximum of 24 hours. That's rule number one. Rule number two is that you should use time-restricted eating as a tool to reduce your overall calorie intake, okay? Because it's always surprising when somebody will fast for 20 hours and compresses their eating window to 4 hours, and in those 4 hours they want to have 3 meals. Why do you want to do that? Okay, why do you want to do that? It really doesn't make sense to do that. When you do that, you're missing a trick. So if you decide that you're going to fast for 24 hours, for instance, you're going to have just one meal. If you fast for 20 hours, just have one meal. If you fast for 16 hours, try and have just 2 meals. Because if you're trying to overcompensate and want to eat all the meals in the number of hours that are available for you, for your eating window, then you are missing a trick. So the point I'm making is that time restricted eating should feed into calorie restriction. They should work hand in hand. So that's rule number 2. Let's move on to rule number 3, and that is that we should ensure we have adequate protein intake in the 1 or 2 meals that we're going to have in our eating window, because we want to protect our lean body mass. Because let's face it, whether you like it or not, when you fast for prolonged periods, you are going to lose muscle. And any muscle that you have today, you really want to protect it. If anything, you want to build more muscle. So you don't want to really lose any muscle. And fasting does lead to muscle loss, whether you like it or not, it does. And we want to protect that. And to do that, we want to ensure we have adequate protein intake. You need your muscles to maintain your metabolism. And you also need your muscles to really provide a nice warehouse to absorb glucose from the blood circulation as well. So please protect your muscle mass, and the way to do that, one way to do that anyway, is to ensure that we're getting adequate protein intake. Of course, you're going to add exercise to that too. So those are the 3 rules regarding fasting to make it safer for us. Now, folks, I need to repeat this. Fasting is not going to kill you. People have been fasting for centuries. It's a safe practice. Religions have been doing it for centuries as well. So long as you do it in a reasonable way, you will be fine. And just follow those 3 simple rules, and you're also going to be fine. Now, I want to know if you are somebody who does fast. If you do, please let me know in the comment section. I want to know how often you fast, how many hours you fast for. If you found fasting beneficial, go ahead, let me know in the comment section as well. And I'm hoping that you got some value from this very video. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up, please like the video, and please share this video with your friends, family, and colleagues. Any other question, go ahead, ask down below. So let me repeat this. Fasting is safe. Fasting is not going to kill you if you do it in a reasonable, safe way. I think that's it for this video. Until next time, well, this is Dr. Joe signing out.